The College Football Hall of Fame is back in the news once again, and unfortunately, for another negative reason. First, Mike Leach didn't get in because he barely missed the 600% winning percentage mark needed. I'm going to get to that travesty in a second. But now, former LSU coach Les Miles is suing his former employer because of the 37 vacated wins during his tenure, which dropped his overall winning percentage below the 600 mark as well, which nullifies him from being inducted. Now, to me, there's got to be some leeway from the College Football Hall of Fame for coaches that had a huge impact on the game, like Mike Leach did, even if they didn't hit the winning percentage mark. As we know, Mike Leach and Hal Mumme co-authored the air raid offense, which has helped mold the game, and we still see it all over the place today. His personality was incredibly large and magnetic. It helped grow the sport. And like I said, he had a huge impact on the game overall. The man deserves to be in. Now, even if he was still alive, I think he should be inducted into the Hall because of said impact. Now, Les Miles had wins taken away for paying a recruit's father during the recruiting process. It was a deal between LSU and the NCAA to kind of soften the blow of the penalties that would be coming to LSU. But let's be real. Everybody was paying everybody. He wasn't pumping his players full of steroids or betting on the outcome of games. Deep down, we all know that players were getting paid before NIL, and hell, now it's legal. And when it comes to vacated wins, that's an absolute joke. Nobody considers LSU having lost those games, just like nobody thought that Reggie Bush didn't win the Heisman when it was taken away. I've never seen a fan, a player, or a coach take credit for winning a game that they actually lost because of it being vacated. Now, before you say the College Football Hall of Fame isn't a participation trophy contest, I'm not advocating for that. In fact, these are two anomalies with Leach and Miles. And there needs to be some nuance with who gets in the Hall of Fame when it comes to extraordinary circumstances like this. Very rarely will a coach ever be considered who has less than a 600% winning percentage, but in these two cases, both coaches should get in, especially when they're literally 0.03% and 0.04% off the needed winning percentage. Now, was Les Miles goofy, and did he eat grass and run stupid plays over and over again? Yes, he did. But they won those 37 games, and we all know it. Was Mike Leach the winningest coach of all time? No. But like I said, he had a massive impact on the game, and he did so much for it, even outside of his hilarious sound bites. So loosen up a little bit, College Football Hall of Fame. Read the room. Put these two guys in there. They deserve it. David Cone, former Michigan quarterback, who I think deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. And then my brother, former Western State, Colorado wide receiver, who deserves a lot of stuff. Some I can say and some I can't. It's good.
I don't deserve to be in the Hall of Fame?
You deserve to be in the Hall.
It doesn't mean
the Dragon.
Some Hall of Fame.
The Dragon Hall of Fame. How about that? Does that work? David, just to give our listeners some context on this, obviously I want to see what you think. Both are different situations, and I understand there needs to be markers to get in the College Football Hall of Fame, but can we not look at extraordinary circumstances and say, hey, maybe we need to let these two guys in?
Okay, so hold on. I'm just trying to get all this straight here. So LSU vacated 37 wins for an embezzlement scheme where the program supposedly funneled money for recruits through a children's hospital. And Les Miles won't get in the Hall of Fame because his win percentage isn't 600%.
Yeah.
Hold on.
When you put it like that, it sounds
children's hospital, and we're worried about the 600 mark.
Well, okay, a lot of people used funds from different ways to pay players. Okay, to be honest with you, I don't think Les Miles is really smart enough to have concocted this whole scheme if you look at it. And it sounds bad, right? I don't know how you look at somebody in a children's hospital and say, oh man, we need a left tackle.
Is this
like,
true?
I don't understand. Like,
is this true?
Did
this happen?
This is pretty much what happened. So what LSU did was, I think it was $180,000 to Vidal Alexander's father. If I'm wrong for some reason, LSU fans in the chat, please correct me. It got found out. So LSU did what a lot of schools who are in trouble or were in trouble with the NCAA, and they self-imposed penalties, right? They go and say, listen, I'll pull my pants down in front of everybody here and be embarrassed if you don't make me pull down my pants in front of everybody in the middle of the town square.
That's a lot of pants.
And it's a lot of pants pulling.
Have to come back.
All right, it's a lot of pants pulling down.
To come back from.
And it worked. But in reality, we all know that everybody was paying everybody.
No,
Let's
we
just
don't.
Yes,
We
we
don't
do,
know
David.
that every single
yes, we
person
do. My
paid
dad was
everybody.
getting paid in 1986. They were paying. Jimbo Fisher said it. That NIL's been around for a long time. Y'all just started hearing about it. Anybody that's ever coached at that level knows. Even the places I were coaching at that wasn't LSU or that. There was some. And again, I can only say certain things here.
That just sounds like I want to feel better about myself for cheating, so I'm just going to say that.
But see, to me, it's not cheating when everybody's doing it. Like I said, if they were pumping their players full of steroids or they were betting on games, I totally get it. Leave them out. But these vacated wins, it's like
so you have a line. So you have a line, but it's just about steroids. Like, don't pump your players full of steroids.
Because
what if I was like, man, how much you trying to win? Let's pump our players full of steroids.
Because to me, that has an unbelievably direct effect on the physical outcome of the game. If LSU's paying people, Bama's paying people, which they did, Auburn's paying people, which they did, Texas is paying people, which they did, USC's paying people, which they did. To me, it's not cheating. It's not in the realm of those 37 wins really shouldn't count. Because in reality, USC got all these wins vacated for paying players. Nobody considers that Pete Carroll lost those games. Nobody, even I'll give you a great example, which they're different things, but it's kind of in the same. People say, oh, there needs to be an asterisk by Michigan's national championship because Connor Stallions went out and did all this scouting and this, that, and the other that was quote unquote against the rules, even though they can't really show you the rule that it was against. I think that's bull. To me, these retroactive vacating wins, I've never seen a person or a fan go, no. In 2004, USC really lost that game because it was vacated.
Well, why wouldn't LSU make the NCAA do this and vacate the wins? Like, see, that's what Les Miles is suing him over. He's suing him because he's saying, why are y'all voluntarily vacating all of these wins just so that the current team doesn't get punished anymore? Anyway, I don't know what he did. I don't know, like, by most standards, it seems like Les Miles would be a college football Hall of Famer.
You would think.
I just find it funny that the headline here is we've embezzled money potentially through a children's hospital, but what would keep you out of the Hall of Fame was the winning percentage? Like, that's what we're talking about. I'm all for these Hall of Fames and any award, the Heisman Trophy, whatever award you can be handed, for them to have metrics for you to be able to obtain, to have criteria, basically. I would rather the criteria be tied to ethical standards rather than win percentage. Here's the College Football Hall of Fame. It says, so for coaches, must have at least 10 years of head coaching experience, coached 100 games, and have at least a 600 winning percentage, which is what we're talking about here. The eligibility criteria has changed over time, which has occasionally led to criticism. So this is our old stomping grounds. We used to do our show from the College Football Hall of Fame. I say we just go back over there, have some important conversations. Again, I'm not like, just because we all love Mike Leach and he changed college football, he changed the game for the better. It's tough to just say, well, now because we really like you so much to change the criteria. I'm just questioning, why was this the criteria to begin with? I mean, if you were a head coach for 9 seasons and never lost a football game and you won 9 national championships, you can't be in the College Football Hall of Fame?
Yeah, well, like let me ask. Let me
coach 10 years.
Let me frame it, and I agree with you. But I think there does need to be some nuance. I'm not saying that everybody should get in the College Football Hall of Fame, but I think Mike Leach had such a big impact. First off, just schematically, you look at, the air raid offense is something that kind of transformed the sport. We still see elements. There's teams, you look at what he did at Mississippi State, and Hal Mumme obviously gets a lot of credit. We sat down at SEC Media Days a couple years ago and talked about when they were at Iowa Wesleyan and this started. This would be like saying, okay, to me, the guy who invented the forward pass, what if he didn't win? He didn't hit the 600 percentage win mark, right? I still think he should be in the Hall of Fame because he invented the forward pass.
That's funny you say that, because when I think of Mike Leach and all the things that he did from an innovation standpoint on offense, I first think about Mike Leach as like a guy who was a great mentor to young men. Like, that's what I think about him first, and the impact that he had on the game. That's harder to quantify.
It is harder to quantify, but then
so is being an offensive guru. You know? Like, that's hard to quantify.
It's an interesting argument. I just think in totality, when you look at Mike Leach, and look, the Mike Leach situation and the Les Miles situation are different. But I think these are two anomalies, Blaine, that this isn't going to happen all the time. Like, if there's a coach that wins, 592, .592, whatever it is, and didn't have that big of an impact on the game outside, I don't think they should get in. I don't think this is the norm. I think these are two anomalies. We've just happened to hear about it kind of back to back recently.
Well, I think if you go back and you try to fix the 37 games that did get vacated for LSU, you're going to have to do that for a lot of people. Like, what's your thoughts on the SMU situation? Would they almost got the death penalty from paying players? Would they go back and fix that?
Well, no, but to me, it's not going back and fixing it. It's saying, look, we know that the because what happens when they break off from the NCAA? Like, does all the vacated wins become unvacated when the Power 5 leagues separate? I just think you look at it and say, don't take any of the vacated wins, right? You look at how many games you won overall, add the 37, that gives you the percentage. Because in reality, did LSU lose those games? Did they lose those games?
No, I mean, they didn't, but according to the NCAA, they did.
Well, according to the NCAA, Leah
Well, that's
Thomas
all-
Again,
can change
but see,
his
that's my
locker room
question.
with
Is it
women.
according to the NCAA? Because this isn't an NCAA punishment. LSU is self-imposing these. So that makes me beg the question of like,
well, then
if-
I would think y'all did that because whatever the NCAA was going to come was going to be way worse.
and
That's
see,
what- that's
part
what
of
they
the problem.
did it.
That's what he's talking about with the Michigan stuff we were talking about last year.
Yeah.
It's this whole game. The IRS does this, which should be a great segue to. Hopefully, we have an IRS ad read today. They do this game of like, no, you have to come up with your own punishment, but if it's not severe enough,
Yeah.
then 3 years later we'll step, or in this case, a decade later.
Tell me
we'll
you're
step
wrong.
in.
I just-
Which
tell
this is
me
the
you
thing,
were
if like
wrong.
Les Miles sues LSU over the vacated win, he's still assuming that he wouldn't get kept out of the Hall of Fame for the ethical standards of
Yeah,
this,
and you
right?
remember when Les Miles coached, like it wasn't just this. Like Les Miles had a lot of like when it comes to hitting on students, like a lot of violations that came with him. And then he went to Kansas and went 3-18. So Les had his chance of getting to the Hall of Fame. Mike didn't. He died. RIP. We love Coach Leach. But I think when it comes to Mike Leach and Les Miles, the conversation and the weight to me is completely different. I think everybody with a functioning brain who watches college football knows Mike Leach should be in the Hall of Fame for what he did for college football. I think Les Miles was a good coach, but I think Les Miles had his chance to get in the Hall of Fame, and what he did with Kansas was a terrible job when it comes to roster management. That program almost fell apart, and Les just didn't get to the 600 mark. So I'm okay with that because you can't go back. You can't go back and get the 37 wins. Like you.
Well, he doesn't need to go back and get it. They won those 37 games. Let me ask you this. If he was over the 600% win mark, should Les Miles be in the Hall of Fame?
Yeah.
Then I think we actually agree in a weird way. Like again, they're different conversations, but these are two anomalies in my opinion.
But
Did they vacate the losses too?
See, like what?
Hold on, now we need
Yeah,
to know,
see, like,
did they
now
vacate
you're
the
getting
losses
into a-
too?
Now you're getting into a
Hold on, we
whole-
can't count the losses.
No.
If y'all aren't counting the
Hell
wins, now I got a lot of questions.
We'll
This
go down
is where
this rabbit
this is
hole.
why we bring Tim Brando on.
That's
so
exactly
regularly. I need
right. All
Tim
right.
Brando's wisdom.
What is the Booster Club saying?
all right, Booster Club, hit that like, hit that subscribe button. If you donate, it's on topic. It will get read. Let's start off with Alan Adams. He says, overall impact should determine Hall of Fame eligibility, not a hard and fast win percentage.
See, I agree with that. Because again, every situation is different. That's like saying, oh well, again, the first college football player who broke the color barrier, right, should be in the Hall of Fame. That's a huge mark. Maybe he didn't win the Heisman, or like didn't win the
well, for
Tavia
players,
O'Brien
you
Award or
have to have
whatever.
received major first-team All-American recognition.
Yeah, but like
So, yeah, like you're talking about, maybe you did something significant for college football.
yeah,
but
like
you
what,
weren't an
like what if somebody saved a football team from the bus crashing over a cliff or something? I think that's a Hall of Fame thing to do. I
Hall
just
of Fame
think
move.
it's not as hard line like Alan's saying. I think there's some nuance there.
Let's
Not
go
in
to-
every case, but in these cases.
Let's go to Wayward Wolf. He says, remember Les mileage record Kansas was horrible.
Yep.
Then he squandered more talent at LSU. Hall of Shame nomination from Baton Rouge.
And you know what? I can understand the argument of if you don't think Les Miles should be in the College Football Hall of Fame because you just don't think he should, not because, he's under the win percentage mark. That's the only reason why he should be out, because the wins were vacated. Look, I'll never forget when Les Miles came over from Oklahoma State to LSU and had that little, you remember he had that little mic?
Yeah, had the stage
and it was
mic.
so loud in LSU by like halftime, he had to have the normal headset. I remember watching Les Miles eat grass. I remember watching
Weird
Les
guy.
Miles turn around, toss the ball to the running back, and then have the quarterback go lead block over and over and over again. But he did win a national championship. He won a lot of games, and Les Miles in his own way was kind of like a college football phenomenon. You remember
I
that.
almost played for him.
Yeah.
I really almost played for this guy. He was on the defensive staff at Michigan. The only school in his clause to get out of the LSU contract was to go be the head coach at Michigan. Lloyd Carr retires. He's in talks to get the job. Kirk Herbstreit breaks that story before LSU plays for that national championship you're talking about. And he's like, no, I have to coach in the national championship.
Yeah.
And then we got Rich Rodriguez.
There's nothing like watching LSU run I formation with Odell Beckham Jr. and Jarvis Landry.
I know.
It was crazy.
I know.
I'm just killing
genius.
it.
Reverse psychology. Hey, what's up, YouTube? Make sure you hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, turn those notifications on. We really appreciate you checking us out.